The clock on the diner wall showed 11:30 at night, when Maya finally untied her grease-stained apron. Her feet ached in a way that felt permanent now, like the pain had become part of who she was. 17 years old, and she couldn't remember the last time her feet didn't hurt. She counted her tips in the back room. $42 and some change. Not great, but enough to buy her little brother the medicine he needed for his cough. Maybe even grab some rice and beans if she was careful. Every dollar had a job to do before it even touched her pocket. The November air bit through her thin jacket the moment she stepped outside. She should have worn something warmer, but this was the only jacket she owned that looked decent enough for work. Her manager already complained about her wearing sneakers with holes in them. She couldn't give him another reason to cut her hours. Most people took the bus home, but Maya walked. That was $2 saved, twice a day, 6 days a week. She did the math constantly. $2 times 12 shifts was $24. That was almost enough for her mother's blood pressure medication. You learned to count differently when you were poor. Every choice was actually about 3 other choices you couldn't make. The streets were nearly empty at this hour. Just the occasional car passing by and the homeless man who slept near the convenience store on 4th Avenue. She walked quickly, keeping her head down but her senses alert. Her mother warned her about walking home alone, but what choice did she have? Their apartment was 40 minutes away on foot, and she made this walk every night she worked the closing shift. Maya cut through the alley behind the old textile factory. Everyone said not to, but it saved 10 minutes, and 10 minutes meant getting home before midnight. It meant checking on her mother and maybe getting 5 hours of sleep before her morning shift at the bakery. The alley smelled like garbage and something else she couldn't name. Broken glass crunched under her shoes. She walked faster, eager to get back to the lit street on the other side. That's when she heard it, a crying sound, soft, almost like a kitten. Maya stopped. The sound came again, weaker this time. She looked around the dark alley, her heart suddenly pounding. Every instinct told her to keep walking. Nothing good happened in dark alleys at midnight. But the sound came again, and something in it made her chest tighten. She pulled out her phone and turned on the flashlight. The battery was at 15%. She swept the light across the alley, past the dumpsters and broken pallets. There, next to a pile of cardboard boxes, she saw it. A baby. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She moved closer, not quite believing what she was seeing. A newborn baby, couldn't be more than a few days old, wrapped in a thin blanket inside a cardboard box. The baby's lips were turning blue. The tiny face was scrunched up, crying weakly, like she barely had the strength left. "Oh my God," Maya whispered. Her hands shook as she reached down and picked up the baby, box and all. The infant was so cold, too cold. Maya could feel it even through the blanket. She didn't think. She just moved. Maya unzipped her jacket and pulled the baby out of the box, pressing the tiny body against her chest. She wrapped her jacket around both of them. The baby was so small, so impossibly fragile. Maya could feel the weak flutter of her heartbeat. "Stay with me," Maya heard herself saying. "Please stay with me." She started running. Her tired feet forgotten, her aching legs moving faster than they had in months. She didn't know where the nearest hospital was from here, but she knew she had to find one. The baby had stopped crying. That scared her even more than the crying had. Maya burst onto the main street looking wildly for help. A taxi was stopped at a red light. She ran to it, banging on the window. The driver looked annoyed until he saw the baby. "Hospital," Maya gasped. "Please, she's freezing." The driver's expression changed. "Get in." He drove fast, running 2 red lights. Maya sat in the back, rubbing the baby's tiny hands, trying to warm them. "Come on, little one. Stay with me, please." The baby's eyes opened briefly, dark and unfocused. Maya felt tears on her own cheeks. She didn't even know she was crying. "What happened?" the driver asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. "I found her, in an alley. She was just lying there." The driver cursed under his breath and drove faster. St. Catherine's Hospital emergency entrance was bright with fluorescent lights. Maya jumped out before the taxi even fully stopped. The baby clutched to her chest. She ran through the automatic doors, shouting for help. "Please, I need help." "It's a baby." Nurses surrounded her immediately. Someone tried to take the baby from her arms, but Maya's hands wouldn't let go at first. A nurse with kind eyes gently pried her fingers loose. "You did good, honey. We've got her now. You probably saved her life." They rushed the baby through double doors. Maya stood there in the waiting room, suddenly aware that she was shaking all over. Her jacket was gone. She'd left it wrapped around the baby. Her shirt had a small blood stain where the baby's umbilical cord stump had been. A security guard brought her a blanket. Then the questions started. Police officers arrived. Where exactly did you find her? What time? Did you see anyone? Did you touch anything else? Maya answered everything, but her mind felt foggy. She kept seeing that tiny blue face, those weak cries. What kind of person leaves a baby in an alley? How desperate did you have to be? More than an hour passed before a doctor came out. He looked tired but smiled when he saw Maya. The baby's going to be okay. She's hypothermic and dehydrated, but you got her here in time. Another 10, maybe 15 minutes out in that cold. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Maya felt her knees go weak. She sat down hard in one of the plastic chairs. Can I see her? The doctor hesitated. Are you family? No, I found her. The police will need to contact child services. The baby will be placed in protective custody. Maya nodded. She understood. Of course she did. But something in her chest ached at the thought of never seeing that baby again. A nurse came out a little while later. Her name tag said Patricia. She sat down next to Maya. You want to see her, don't you? Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. Come on. 5 minutes. The baby was in an incubator hooked up to monitors and warming lights. But her color was better now. Pink instead of blue. She was sleeping, her tiny hands curled into fists. Maya pressed her palm against the warm plastic of the incubator. Hey, little one. You're going to be okay. The baby's hand twitched like she could hear. You're a fighter, Maya whispered. I can tell. Patricia stood beside her. What you did tonight was incredibly brave. Most people would have kept walking. Maya shook her head. I didn't do anything special. Anyone would have stopped. You'd be surprised. Most people don't want to get involved. Patricia paused. The baby doesn't have a name yet. What should we call her? Maya looked at the sleeping infant. She thought about that dark alley, about the cold, about how close this little girl had come to not making it. But she had made it. Against all odds, she had survived. Esperanza, Maya said softly. It means hope. Patricia smiled. Esperanza. That's perfect. Maya's phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from her mother. The battery was at 2%. Reality crashed back. She had work in 6 hours. Her mother would be worried sick. Her siblings needed breakfast before school. I have to go, Maya said reluctantly. She took one last look at the baby. Ad Esperanza. Something told her this wasn't the end of their story. She didn't know how she knew, but she felt it deep in her bones. Their lives had crossed tonight for a reason. Take care of her, Maya told Patricia. We will. And thank you. You're a hero whether you believe it or not. Maya walked out into the cold night. The taxi driver was still there waiting. No charge, he said gruffly when she got in, for what you did tonight. As they drove through the empty streets toward her neighborhood, Maya couldn't stop thinking about those tiny fingers, that weak cry, those dark eyes that had opened for just a moment. She'd saved a baby tonight. Her. Maya Rodriguez, who could barely save herself most days. She didn't know it yet, but her whole life had just changed. The girl in that incubator was going to transform everything. But right now Maya just felt tired and grateful that she'd taken the alley shortcut, that she'd heard those cries, that she'd stopped. Sometimes the most important moments of your life don't announce themselves. They just happen, quiet and small, in a dark alley on a cold November night. Maya couldn't stop thinking about the baby. 3 days had passed since that night in the alley, and Esperanza was all she could think about. At work, while serving coffee and clearing tables, she'd zone out remembering those tiny fingers. At home, lying on the couch that doubled as her bed, she'd wonder if the baby was warm enough, if someone was holding her. Her mother noticed. Rosa Rodriguez didn't miss much, even flat on her back with high blood pressure that kept her home most days. You've been different since that night, Rosa said one morning. She was sitting at their small kitchen table, slowly stirring her coffee. That baby's gotten under your skin. Maya was making sandwiches for her siblings' school lunches. She paused, the knife hovering over the bread. I just wonder if she's okay. If anyone's taking care of her properly. Mija, you can't save everyone. You're just 17. You've got enough weight on your shoulders. Maya knew her mother was right. But knowing something and feeling it were different things. That afternoon, after her shift at the bakery, Maya found herself taking a bus to St. Catherine's Hospital. Just to check. Just to see if Esperanza was doing okay. The nurse, Patricia, was at the desk when Maya arrived. Her face lit up. I was hoping you'd come back. She's doing wonderful. Want to see her? Want to? Maya had thought about nothing else for days. Esperanza looked different, healthier. Her cheeks had color now and she was bigger somehow, though it had only been 3 days. She was awake, staring at nothing in particular the way newborns do. Can I hold her? Maya asked. Patricia checked around, then smiled. Technically, I should say no. But technically, you saved her life. 5 minutes. The moment Esperanza settled into Maya's arms, something clicked into place. It was like finding a piece of herself she didn't know was missing. The baby made a small sound, nuzzling against Maya's shirt. She likes you, Patricia said softly. Maya looked down at the baby. Esperanza's hand had wrapped around her finger, that instinctive newborn grip that was surprisingly strong. Maya felt her throat tighten. What happens to her now? Patricia's smile faded a little. Child Services will place her in foster care, probably within the week. They're looking for a good family. What if she doesn't find one? She will. She's a newborn. Babies get adopted quickly. Patricia paused. But the system isn't perfect. Sometimes kids bounce around from home to home. Maya kissed the top of Esperanza's head. The baby smelled like hospital soap and something else, something sweet and indefinable. She deserves better than that. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay on the couch, staring at the water stain on the ceiling, thinking about Esperanza in that hospital alone. Tomorrow she'd be moved to a foster home. Strangers would take care of her. Good people, probably. But strangers. The thought made Maya's chest hurt. The next morning she did something crazy. She called the number for Child Services that Patricia had written down for her. A woman named Helen answered. I want to apply to foster the baby I found, Maya said. Esperanza, there was a long pause. How old are you? 17. Another pause, longer this time. I appreciate what you did for that child. But fostering requires you to be at least 21 in this state. I'm sorry. Maya felt something crumble inside her. Of course there were rules. There were always rules that kept people like her from having good things. There must be something I can do. Get yourself stable first, honey. Finish school. Get a good job. Then maybe think about fostering or adopting. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Maya hung up feeling hollow. She went through the motions that day. Work at the bakery, then the diner, then home to check on her mother and help her siblings with homework. But part of her mind stayed stuck on that phone call, on that word. No. She visited the hospital every day that week. Patricia let her hold Esperanza each time, bending the rules because she could see what Maya couldn't quite admit to herself yet. This wasn't just concern. This was love. On the 5th day, a social worker arrived while Maya was there. She was an older woman with sharp eyes and a kind face. Her name was Helen Chen, and Maya recognized her voice from the phone. You're the girl who keeps visiting, Helen said. It wasn't a question. Maya held Esperanza closer, protective. I just want to make sure she's okay. Helen sat down in the chair next to Maya. You called my office. About fostering her. You said I'm too young. You are, legally anyway. Helen watched Maya with Esperanza for a long moment. But I've been doing this job for 23 years, and I've learned that sometimes the rules don't account for what's right. She paused. Tell me about yourself, Maya, your real situation. So Maya did. She told her about her mother's illness, about working 2 jobs, about her siblings, about the apartment that was too small and too expensive, about dropping out of school to help support the family, about walking home alone at midnight and counting every dollar. Helen listened without interrupting. When Maya finished, she nodded slowly. You understand what you're asking for is impossible, right? You can barely support yourself, I know. You're 17. You should be worried about school and friends and being young, not raising a baby, I know that too. Then why? Maya looked down at Esperanza. The baby was sleeping now, peaceful and warm. Because when I found her, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Like I had a purpose beyond just surviving. Like maybe I was supposed to be in that alley that night. She looked up at Helen. I know it sounds stupid. It doesn't sound stupid. Helen was quiet for a moment. It sounds like every parent I've ever met who actually loved their child. She stood up. I can't promise anything. But let me look into some options. There might be a way to make this work, though it won't be easy. Nothing in my life has been easy, Maya said. I'm used to it. Over the next 2 weeks, Helen became an unexpected ally. She helped Maya navigate a system that seemed designed to say no. There were forms, interviews, home inspections. Maya had to get references from her employers. The apartment had to pass safety standards, which meant Maya spent a precious day off installing outlet covers and smoke detectors she bought with tip money. Her mother thought she'd lost her mind. "Mia, we can barely feed ourselves. How will we feed a baby?" "I'll figure it out." "I always do." Her aunt visited and was even less kind. "You're throwing your life away. You're 17. You should be thinking about your future, not playing mother to some stranger's baby." But Maya had already made up her mind. Esperanza wasn't a stranger. Maya didn't have words for what Esperanza was, but she knew with absolute certainty that letting her go to someone else would break something inside her that would never heal. The day of the final interview, Maya wore her only dress. It was old and didn't fit quite right, but it was the best she had. She sat across from Helen and 2 other social workers answering their questions. "Why do you want to do this?" one of them asked. "Because she needs me. And I need her. You're very young. What makes you think you can handle the responsibility?" "I've been handling responsibility since I was 12, Maya said. "I take care of my mother. I raise my siblings while working 2 jobs. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but I'm saying I'll do whatever it takes." "What about school? Your education?" "I'll get my GED, I'll find a way." They asked her about money, about childcare, about her plans for the future. Maya answered honestly. She had no savings, no college fund, no safety net, but she had determination and love, and somehow that felt like enough. At the end, they asked her to wait outside. Maya sat in the hallway for 40 minutes, her heart hammering. Through the door, she could hear muffled voices but couldn't make out words. Finally, Helen came out. Her face was unreadable. "We've made a decision." Maya held her breath. "Normally, we would never approve this. You're too young. Your financial situation is unstable, and you lack the traditional support systems we look for." Helen paused. "But your case is unusual. You have a proven relationship with the child. Your employers gave you glowing references. And frankly, your determination is unlike anything I've seen." She handed Maya a folder. "This is temporary custody with intensive supervision. You'll have weekly check-ins with me. Your home will be inspected monthly. Any sign that you can't handle this, and Esperanza goes to another placement. Understand?" Maya couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Don't make me regret this," Helen said, but her voice was gentle. "I won't. I promise." 3 days later, Maya brought Esperanza home. Her apartment had never looked smaller or shabbier. Her siblings stared at the baby with wide eyes. Her mother shook her head but helped prepare a corner for the crib they'd borrowed from a neighbor. That first night, Maya barely slept. She kept checking to make sure Esperanza was breathing. Every little sound made her jump. She'd read all the pamphlets Helen gave her, but reading about babies and actually caring for one were completely different things. At 3 in the morning, Esperanza woke up crying. Maya stumbled out of bed, exhausted and disoriented. She changed the diaper, made a bottle, fed the baby while sitting on the floor because the apartment was too small for a rocking chair. Esperanza looked up at her with those dark, trusting eyes. In that moment, with her back aching and her eyes burning from lack of sleep, Maya understood what she'd really signed up for. This wasn't going to be some beautiful movie moment. This was going to be hard, harder than anything she'd done before. But when Esperanza's tiny hand wrapped around her finger, Maya smiled through her tears. Hard was okay. She'd been doing hard her whole life. "We're going to be okay," she whispered to the baby. "I don't know how yet, but we will." Esperanza yawned and closed her eyes, content and safe. And Maya held her as the sun started to rise, feeling terrified and exhausted and more purposeful than she'd ever felt in her life. She'd saved this baby from an alley. Now she just had to figure out how to save them both from everything else. Reality hit Maya like a freight train. She'd imagined having Esperanza would be difficult, but nothing prepared her for the actual exhaustion. Nothing prepared her for trying to work 3 jobs while caring for an infant who needed her every 3 hours, day and night. So Maya started accepting help. She enrolled in the GED program that met 2 evenings a week. Destiny watched Esperanza while Maya studied. She signed up for food assistance, swallowing the shame that came with pulling out an EBT card at the grocery store. She joined a support group for young mothers. Sitting in that circle, hearing other women tell stories that sounded like her own. Maya realized she wasn't alone. There were others fighting the same fight, surviving the same struggles. Slowly, very slowly, things got a little easier. Her mother came home from the hospital and, while still weak, could at least watch Esperanza for short periods. The community center became a lifeline, giving Maya 3 mornings a week to work without worrying about childcare. She was still exhausted. Still poor, still fighting an uphill battle every single day, but she was doing it. She was surviving. One evening, after getting Esperanza to sleep, Maya sat at the kitchen table with her GED books. Her siblings were in bed. Her mother was resting. The apartment was quiet for the first time all day. Maya opened the math section and started working through problems. Her eyes burned with tiredness, but she kept going, because this mattered, because Esperanza deserved a mother with an education, because Maya needed to prove to herself that she could do this. At midnight, she finally closed the book. Tomorrow would bring more challenges. More bills, more exhaustion, more struggles. But tonight, she'd studied. Tonight, she'd moved one step closer to her goal. She checked on Esperanza one last time before bed. The baby was sleeping peacefully, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. Maya reached down and gently touched her soft cheek. "We're going to make it," she whispered. "I promise you, little one. We're going to make it." And despite everything, despite the exhaustion and the fear and the impossible odds, Maya believed it. 15 months. That's how long Maya had been Esperanza's mother when Helen showed up at her door with a stranger. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and Maya had just gotten home from her morning shift at the bakery. Esperanza was taking her nap, and Maya was using the precious quiet time to fold laundry. When she opened the door and saw Helen's serious expression, her stomach dropped. In 15 months, she'd learned to read Helen's face. This wasn't a routine check-in. "Maya, this is Dr. Catherine Wells," Helen said. "Can we come in?" The woman beside Helen was in her early 60s, dressed in elegant clothes that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. She had kind eyes, but a sadness around them that spoke of old grief. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she let them in, grateful that she'd just cleaned the apartment that morning. They sat at the small kitchen table. Dr. Wells kept glancing around, her gaze lingering on the photos of Esperanza that Maya had taped to the walls, baby pictures from every month documenting how she'd grown. "Is something wrong?" Maya asked, her voice tight. "Did I do something wrong with Esperanza?" "No," Helen said quickly. "No, you've done nothing wrong. This is about Esperanza's background. We've learned some things." Dr. Wells spoke for the first time. Her voice was cultured, controlled, but Maya could hear emotion underneath. They found Esperanza's biological mother, through DNA databases and investigation work. Maya felt cold. She'd known this might happen someday, but she'd pushed the thought away. Does she want her back?" "She can't," Dr. Wells said softly. "She passed away. Shortly after abandoning Esperanza, actually. Complications from childbirth that went untreated." Maya didn't know how to feel. Sad for a girl she'd never met? Relieved? Guilty for feeling relieved? She settled for asking, "Why are you telling me this now?" Helen and Dr. Wells exchanged glances. Helen nodded and Dr. Wells continued. "The girl's name was Sophia. She was 19, and she was my biological daughter." The world seemed to stop. Maya stared at Dr. Wells, trying to process this information. "I gave her up for adoption when I was 16, Dr. Wells explained. "It was a closed adoption. I've spent the last 44 years wondering about her, searching for her when the laws changed to allow it. I finally found her 6 months ago." Her voice cracked. "I was too late. She'd already passed." "I'm so sorry," Maya whispered, and she meant it. She couldn't imagine finding Esperanza after years of searching only to learn she was gone. "Sophia left something behind," Helen said gently. She pulled out a clear plastic bag containing a piece of paper. A letter. It was supposed to be with Esperanza when she was found, but it got separated in the chaos. A friend of Sophia's found it recently and turned it in. Dr. Wells's hand shook as Helen handed her the letter. She didn't take it out of the evidence bag, but she held it like it was precious. "Would you like me to read it to you?" Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. She thought about Esperanza sleeping in the next room, unaware that her story was being revealed. Dr. Wells cleared her throat and began reading. The letter was short, written in shaky handwriting on notebook paper. "To whoever finds my baby girl, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm 19 and I have nothing. No family, no money, no way to take care of her. I gave birth alone in my room and I'm bleeding too much, but I can't go to the hospital because I can't pay. I know that makes me a coward. I know leaving her is the worst thing a mother can do, but I'm leaving her where people walk by. Someone will find her. Someone better than me. Someone who can give her what I can't. Her father doesn't know she exists and doesn't care about me anyway. I'm alone. She deserves better than alone. I'm leaving this letter so someday she knows I loved her. I did love her. I held her for 2 hours before I couldn't anymore. I memorized her face. Please take care of my baby. Please give her everything I could and I hope she grows up happy. I hope she never knows how close she came to having nothing. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her. That's all I have to give her. Love and sorry. It's not enough, but it's all I have. The room was silent when Dr. Wells finished. Maya was crying, tears streaming down her face. She thought about Sophia, 19 and alone and bleeding, wrapping her baby in a blanket and leaving her in that alley. She thought about the desperation it must have taken, the love twisted into an impossible choice. She was my granddaughter, Dr. Wells said quietly. Sophia was my daughter, which makes Esperanza my biological granddaughter. The only family I have left. Maya felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. This was it. This was where everything ended. Dr. Wells was educated, wealthy, connected. She'd take Esperanza. She had every right to. Maya was just a poor girl who'd found a baby. Dr. Wells was actual family. You want her? Maya said flatly. It wasn't a question. Dr. Wells looked at her for a long moment. I want to know her. But this isn't about what I want. I don't understand. I've been watching you, Maya, for the past month since we confirmed the DNA match. Helen gave me updates. I've driven by the community center and seen you with Esperanza. I saw you carrying her out of the bakery last week, her strapped to your chest while you juggled shopping bags. I've seen the way you are with her. Maya's heart was pounding. Why were you watching us? Because I needed to know what kind of person was raising my granddaughter. Dr. Wells's voice was firm but not unkind. I needed to see if you were taking care of her properly, if you were just someone looking for a cute baby or someone who truly loved her. And Maya could barely breathe. And I saw a young woman who works 3 jobs to keep a roof over that baby's head, who walks her to the park every evening even when she's exhausted, who talks to her constantly, reads to her, plays with her, who clearly loves her more than anything in this world. Dr. Wells's eyes were bright with tears. I saw Sophia's letter playing out in real life. Someone giving Esperanza everything Sophia couldn't. Maya didn't understand. Then why are you here? Because I want to be part of her life, but I'm not going to take her from you. Dr. Wells leaned forward. You're her mother, Maya, in every way that matters. I can see that. Anyone with eyes can see that. But I'm her grandmother, her only blood relative, and I'd like to know her if you'll let me. Maya felt dizzy. You're not going to try to take her? No. Dr. Wells said it firmly. I lost my daughter. I won't make Esperanza lose her mother too. You saved her life. You've given her everything despite having so little yourself. I would never try to separate you. Helen spoke up. Dr. Wells has a proposal. She'd like to explain it to you. Maya looked between them, still not quite believing this was real. I'm a pediatric surgeon, Dr. Wells began. I'm financially secure. Very secure. And I have no one to leave it to. I'd like to help you, not by taking Esperanza, but by helping you both have a better life. I don't want charity, Maya said automatically, though even as she said it she knew how proud and foolish it sounded. It's not charity. It's family helping family. You're raising my granddaughter. That makes us connected whether we like it or not. Dr. Wells smiled slightly. I'd like to help you finalize Esperanza's adoption. I'll pay for the lawyers, make sure everything is legally solid so no one can ever question your right to be her mother. Maya felt tears starting again. The adoption. She'd been saving for over a year, putting away $5 here and there. But she was nowhere close to affording a lawyer. And I'd like to help with other things. Dr. Wells continued. Your education, for instance. What do you want to do with your life, Maya, if money weren't an issue? No one had ever asked Maya that. What she wanted felt irrelevant when survival was the only goal. I don't know. I've thought about nursing sometimes. I like helping people. But that's years of school and I have to work, and what if you didn't have to choose between school and work? Dr. Wells interrupted gently. What if I paid for nursing school? Covered your expenses so you could focus on your education? That's too much. I can't accept that. Why not? Because I don't deserve it. Dr. Wells's expression softened. You saved my granddaughter's life. You've raised her with nothing but love and determination. You deserve everything, Maya, and so does Esperanza. Let me help. Not because you need charity, but because we're family now. Because I want to honor Sophia's memory by making sure her daughter has the best life possible. Maya looked at Helen, who nodded encouragingly. It's a generous offer, and it's legitimate. Dr. Wells isn't trying to buy access or control. She just wants to help. I'd like to be in Esperanza's life, Dr. Wells said. Visit sometimes. Take her to the park. Be her grandmother. But you're her mother, Maya. That will never change. I just want to help both of you have an easier path. Maya thought about the bills stacked on the counter, about working until midnight and studying until 2 in the morning, about the constant stress of never having enough, about wanting so desperately to give Esperanza more but never being able to. If I say yes, Maya said slowly, you have to promise something. What's that? You can't take her, ever, no matter what. If I accept your help, it's not conditional. You can't decide later that I'm not good enough and try to get custody. I promise, Dr. Wells said immediately. I'll put it in writing. Legal documents. Whatever you need to feel secure. You're Esperanza's mother. That's not changing. They sat in silence for a moment. From the bedroom, Esperanza started to cry, waking from her nap. Maya stood automatically, but Dr. Wells spoke quickly. Can I meet her? Properly, I mean. Maya hesitated, then nodded. She went to the bedroom and picked up Esperanza, who was rubbing her eyes sleepily. The baby was 15 months old now, starting to say a few words, toddling around on unsteady legs. She had Sophia's dark hair and eyes. Maya wondered if she had her personality too. She carried Esperanza back to the kitchen. Dr. Wells stood, and Maya saw her face transform when she saw the baby. Joy and grief mixed together, tears spilling over. Hello, Esperanza, Dr. Wells whispered. I'm your grandmother. Esperanza looked at this stranger with typical toddler suspicion, burying her face in Maya's neck. Maya rubbed her back soothingly. It's okay, baby. This is family. Someone who loved your birth mama very much. Dr. Wells smiled through tears. She looks like Sophia. Same eyes. Same serious expression. Would you like to hold her? Maya asked, surprising herself. Dr. Wells nodded, unable to speak. Maya gently transferred Esperanza to her arms. The baby was uncertain at first, but Dr. Wells held her with practiced ease and Esperanza settled. Thank you, Dr. Wells said to Maya. Thank you for saving her. Thank you for loving her. Thank you for being the mother she needed when no one else could be. Maya watched Dr. Wells with Esperanza and felt something shift inside her. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. A different kind of family forming. Built not on blood alone, but on love and loss and second chances. Maybe they could make this work. Maybe Esperanza could have a grandmother and a mother. Maybe accepting help wasn't weakness but strength. Maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. 3 years had passed since that Tuesday afternoon when Dr. Catherine Wells walked into Maya's life. Looking back now, Maya barely recognized the exhausted 17-year-old girl she'd been. That girl who'd found a baby in an alley and decided to save her, not knowing she was saving herself too. The transformation hadn't happened overnight. It had been gradual, built on small changes that added up to something bigger. Catherine kept her promise. She paid for lawyers who finalized Esperanza's adoption. The day the judge declared Maya as Esperanza's legal mother, Maya cried so hard she could barely thank the judge. No one could take her baby away now. Ever. Catherine also helped them move out of that cramped apartment. Not to somewhere fancy, but to a better neighborhood where Maya's siblings could walk to school safely, and where the windows didn't let in drafts during winter. It was still small, but it felt like a palace compared to before. Esperanza had her own room, painted yellow because it reminded Maya of sunshine. The biggest change was nursing school. Maya had been terrified at first. She was 20 now, sitting in classes with people who'd taken clear paths to get there. People who hadn't raised babies while working 3 jobs. People who understood chemistry and anatomy like it was easy. But Maya learned she was smarter than she'd given herself credit for. All those years of surviving had taught her discipline, focus, and determination. While other students partied on weekends, Maya studied. While they complained about early clinicals, Maya reminded herself she'd once worked from 5 in the morning until midnight and somehow survived. Catherine paid for the tuition, but Maya worked part-time at a medical clinic to cover other expenses. She refused to take more than she absolutely needed. Pride, maybe, or maybe just needing to prove she could still stand on her own feet. Esperanza went to a good daycare while Maya was in class. A real daycare with toys and teachers and other kids, not just neighbors doing favors. The first day Maya dropped her off, Esperanza had cried. So had Maya. But the teachers were kind and Esperanza adjusted quickly. She made friends. She learned to share and count and sing songs. Catherine visited every week, sometimes more. She'd pick up Esperanza from daycare and take her to the park. She'd read her books and teach her things and spoil her with toys that Maya never could have afforded. But she always brought Esperanza home to Maya, always respected that Maya was the mother. Slowly, they built something Maya had never expected. A family, not the traditional kind, but something that worked. Catherine became like a mother to Maya too, in a way, offering advice, listening when Maya was stressed about school, helping without smothering. Maya's mother got healthier. With the stress of poverty lifted slightly, Rosa's blood pressure stabilized. She watched Esperanza sometimes, her granddaughter by choice as she called her. Maya's siblings adored Esperanza. Her brother taught her to kick a ball. Her sister painted her nails with cheap polish they bought at the dollar store. The community that had helped Maya survive became the community that helped her thrive. Mrs. Patel still babysat sometimes, though now Maya paid her. Mr. Santos still ran the bodega on the corner, still slipped extra items into bags, though Maya could actually afford to say no now. She didn't always say no. Some kindnesses you accepted just to let people feel good. Maya graduated from nursing school when Esperanza was 4 years old. She walked across that stage in her cap and gown, and when they called her name, she heard Catherine cheering. Her mother, her siblings, Mrs. Patel, even Mr. Santos had come, and in the front row, Esperanza held a sign she'd made with Catherine's help. It said, "My mama," with a heart drawn in crayon. Maya cried through the entire ceremony. She'd done it. Against every odd, every obstacle, every person who'd said it was impossible, she'd done it. She got a job at St. Catherine's Hospital, the same hospital where she'd brought Esperanza that freezing November night 6 years ago. Patricia, the nurse who'd first let Maya hold Esperanza, was still there. She hugged Maya when she saw her in scrubs. "I knew you had it in you," Patricia said. "From the moment I saw you with that baby, I knew you were special." Working in the hospital felt right. Maya was good at her job. She was patient with scared kids and elderly patients. She didn't judge the mother who brought in a child at midnight because she couldn't afford a regular doctor visit. She remembered being that person who couldn't afford help. Esperanza thrived. She was smart and funny and full of questions. She loved books, especially ones about animals. She wanted to be a veterinarian one week and an astronaut the next. She had Catherine's analytical mind and Sophia's serious expression, but she had Maya's resilience, that ability to fall down and get back up that only came from watching someone fight every day of your life. On Esperanza's 5th birthday, Maya threw her a party in their apartment. Nothing fancy, but there was cake and decorations, and all her little friends from daycare came. Catherine was there, of course. So was everyone else who'd helped them survive and then thrive. After the party, after everyone left, Maya tucked Esperanza into bed. The little girl was exhausted, her face still sticky with frosting. "Mama," Esperanza said sleepily. "Yes, baby?" "Catherine told me a story today. About my birth, Mama. The one who came before you." Maya's heart clenched. They decided to tell Esperanza early, in age-appropriate ways, that Maya wasn't her biological mother. Better she learned from them than from some kid at school later. "What did she tell you?" "That my birth mama loved me very much, but she couldn't take care of me. So she left me where someone would find me, where you would find me." "That's right." Esperanza was quiet for a moment. "Was she sad?" "I think she was very sad, but also very brave. She made sure you would be safe. Catherine says I'm lucky to have 2 mamas who loved me, one who gave me life and one who gave me everything else." Maya swallowed hard. "What do you think?" "I think I'm lucky I have you." Esperanza reached up and touched Maya's face with her small hand. "You're my real mama, the one who takes care of me and loves me and makes me feel safe." Maya kissed her forehead. I love you more than anything in this whole world. I love you more than the moon, Esperanza said. Their special phrase, I love you more than the stars. I love you more than ice cream. Maya laughed. That's a lot. She stayed until Esperanza fell asleep, watching her breathe, still amazed after all these years that this was her life. That this beautiful, smart, funny little girl was hers. Later that night, after checking on her own siblings and her mother, Maya stepped outside onto the small balcony of their apartment. The city stretched out below, full of lights and noise and life. Somewhere out there, young women were struggling the way she had, working too hard, sleeping too little, wondering if they'd make it. She thought about Sophia, 19 and alone, making the hardest decision of her life. Maya understood her now in a way she couldn't have at 17. Sophia hadn't abandoned her baby. She'd saved her. She'd made sure Esperanza would be found, would be cared for. She'd given her daughter the only gift she had to give, a chance, and Maya had found her. Not by accident. She didn't believe in accidents anymore. She'd taken that shortcut through the alley because she needed to. She'd heard those cries because she was meant to. She'd saved Esperanza because their destinies were linked from the start. People talked about destiny like it was something magical, something that happened to you. But Maya knew better. Destiny was something you made. It was choosing to stop in a dark alley, choosing to fight for a baby everyone said you couldn't keep, choosing to work 3 jobs and go to school and never ever give up. Her destiny hadn't been to escape poverty. It had been to transform it, to prove that love mattered more than money, that determination could overcome obstacles, that family was what you built, not just what you were born into. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Catherine. Thank you for letting me be part of Esperanza's life. And yours. You've given me a family I thought I'd lost forever. Maya texted back. Thank you for believing in us. She looked at the city lights again and thought about the future. She wanted to do more, help more. Next year, she was going to start volunteering at a community center, working with young mothers. She wanted to tell them what she'd learned, that they weren't alone, that help existed, that it was okay to accept that help. She was even thinking about going back to school eventually. Becoming a nurse practitioner. Maybe specializing in pediatrics. She had time. She had support. She had possibilities she'd never dreamed of 6 years ago. The door opened behind her. Her mother stepped out wrapped in a robe. You should sleep, Mia. You work tomorrow, I know. I was just thinking. Rosa stood beside her, looking out at the city. About what? About how everything changed. About that night I found her. You saved her. Maya shook her head. We saved each other. She looked at her mother. I used to think I had nothing to offer her. No money, no education, no security. But I was wrong. I had the most important thing. I had love. And I had the determination to do whatever it took to give her a good life. You've done more than give her a good life. You've given her everything, not everything. Not yet, but I'm working on it. Maya smiled. And now, with Catherine's help, with everyone's help, I can give her even more. Education, opportunities, a future. They stood together in comfortable silence. Finally, Rosa spoke. I'm proud of you. You know that, right? So proud of the woman you've become. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. I'm proud of me too, finally. That was the real transformation. Not the nursing degree or the better apartment or the financial security. It was believing she was worthy of good things. That she deserved happiness. That she was enough. She went back inside and checked on Esperanza one more time. The little girl was sprawled across her bed, clutching her favorite stuffed elephant. Maya straightened the blankets and tucked her in properly. We made it, baby, she whispered, just like I promised we would. Tomorrow Maya would work a shift at the hospital. She'd come home and make dinner. She'd help Esperanza with her kindergarten homework. She'd study for the certification exam she wanted to take. She'd call Catherine and arrange next week's visit. She'd do laundry and pay bills and all the ordinary things that made up a life. But tonight she let herself feel it. The gratitude, the accomplishment, the joy. She'd found a baby in an alley 6 years ago, not knowing it was her destiny, not knowing that tiny crying infant would become her purpose, her reason, her everything. Esperanza hadn't just needed saving. Maya had needed saving too, from a life of grinding poverty with no hope of escape, from believing she didn't matter, from thinking she had nothing to offer the world. That baby had saved her, had given her a reason to fight harder, dream bigger, become more, had connected her to Catherine, to a whole support system, to opportunities she'd never imagined. People always asked Maya how she'd done it. How she'd raised a baby at 17 while working and going to school. How she'd made it through. The answer was simple and complicated all at once. She'd done it for love. She'd done it because when you loved someone more than yourself, you found strength you didn't know existed. You found ways when there seemed to be no way. You kept going when quitting seemed easier. She'd done it because destiny wasn't just about finding Esperanza in that alley. It was about choosing every single day to be the mother that little girl deserved, to be the person she herself needed to become, and she'd succeeded. Not perfectly, not easily, but she'd done it. Maya turned off the light in Esperanza's room and headed to her own bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Life was never perfect, never easy, but it was good. She had her daughter, her family, her career, her future. She had everything that mattered. As she drifted off to sleep, Maya's last thought was of that freezing November night 6 years ago. Of weak cries in a dark alley, of tiny blue fingers wrapping around hers, of the moment she'd decided to stop, to help, to save. It had been the most important decision of her life, the moment everything changed, the night she found her destiny, and she would make that choice again 1,000 times over without hesitation, because that's what love was, that's what family was, that's what destiny was. It was choosing each other again and again, no matter how hard the path. It was believing in possibility when everyone else saw only obstacles. It was proving that the richest life wasn't measured in money, but in the bonds you fought to protect. Maya Rodriguez had started with nothing but love. And love, it turned out, was everything.